Welcome back to the campaign trail. Welcome back to Iowa. How does it feel?
Well, I love Iowa. We've won it 3 times conclusively. There wasn't like any late night voting or anything. We just won it right at the beginning. The doors closed and they said Trump won. And I love the people. You know, I just get along with the people.
I was watching the other room. You look back in your element. You're back with the people. What do you like better? Do you like this, standing on the stage at a rally, or do you like making a deal, maybe for Greenland?
I think I like maybe the rallies better. Deals are fun, but we're making a lot of good deals. We've made record-setting deals. We have $18 trillion coming into the country. That's why they're building auto plants, AI. They're building everything. With thousands of businesses are being built all over the country. And you're going to have a beautiful, very positive explosion sometime during the year when these things start opening up. But there's never been no country has done what we've done.
That explosion, that anticipated economic explosion, that's going to be important because you also need to do something that someone has done very rarely. You acknowledged this a couple of days ago with Maria Bartiromo, and that is for the president in power to win the midterms. I think it's been only twice since 1938 that the sitting president, the president in power, has won the midterms. Are you concerned?
Well, nobody can explain why. You know, even when we've had an amazing year, there's been a record-setting year in every way, and nobody can explain. Even presidents, whether it's Republican or Democrat, when they win, it doesn't make any difference. They seem to lose the midterm. So that's the only thing I worry about. I said, why? There's some psychological factor out there.
What do you think that is?
But I think it's like 2 in more than 50 years. Well, I don't know. Maybe they want to put up a guard fence. Maybe you just don't know. It doesn't make sense. Even if a president did well, they seem to lose the midterms, but hopefully we're going to change that around. We're doing great. We have the best polling numbers we've ever had. We have the best numbers in the country, lowest crime numbers in the history of our country. You know, Minnesota's in the news a lot, but what they don't say is that Minnesota has low numbers because of the fact that we took thousands of hardened criminals out of Minnesota. So they had good crime numbers, believe it or not. And that's all working out. You know, we have Tom Homan there now. We put him in there. He's great. And they met with the governor, the mayor, everybody else, and we're going to de-escalate a little bit. But I will tell you, you look at the numbers, they're doing better than they've done in many years because we took thousands of criminals out of Minnesota. You look at Washington, D.C., it was a very dangerous place a year and a half ago. Now it's as safe as you can get. You can walk your family down the middle of the street, nothing's going to happen. You know, we got rid of over 2,000 hardened criminals, many of them let in through the open border policy of Sleepy Joe Biden. That was not a good policy, Will.
I want to come back to Minnesota in just one moment, but let's go to those guardrails. I'd imagine you do not feel like you need guardrails in this moment. You talk about the investment.
No, I don't need guardrails. I don't want guardrails. Guardrails would hurt us because, you know, we're free enterprise people. The people in this room, the people of Iowa, are free enterprise. That's why we won it so big 3 times in a row.
I would have to imagine that guardrails would be an understatement of what would happen should you lose the House or the Senate. There's been talk of impeachment. You've been through this before.
Yeah.
You've been through it multiple times.
I'm a professional.
Now listen carefully. This is where things get serious. Trump says the problem isn't just people, it's policies. Very bad policies. He claims they stick together, they protect each other, and that's why change becomes almost impossible. And according to him, those policies are hurting everyone, from everyday families to farmers. He even mentions how farmers were treated unfairly. That's why, he says, the government had to step in with $12 billion just to balance the damage. Tariffs brought in huge money, and that money went right back to the people. But then, the conversation takes a darker turn. Everyone is talking about what happened in Minnesota. The video went viral. The country reacted. And when Trump was asked about it, his response was blunt. He called the entire situation terrible. He questioned why someone was carrying a fully loaded weapon with extra magazines. He said when guns enter a moment like that, nothing good follows. And then he used one word that changed the tone completely: radicalized. He warned that some people are becoming so extreme, they're no longer just protesting, they're interfering with law enforcement itself. According to Trump, this isn't happening everywhere. He claims crime dropped fast in cities like New Orleans, Washington, D.C., and Memphis. Places that were once dangerous, he says, became safer within weeks. But Minnesota? That's where things didn't go as planned. Then comes the biggest accusation of all. Trump says the real damage was done long before, with open borders. He claims thousands of violent criminals were allowed into the country, murderers, drug dealers, people other countries didn't want, sent straight into America. And now, he says, the border is finally closed. No more people coming in. Finally, he shifts to something everyone feels every day: money. Trump says prices are coming down, fuel is cheaper, groceries are cheaper, and inflation, which he calls the worst in decades, is finally slowing. His message is simple: the damage was done before him, and now, he says, he's cleaning it up. But here's the real question. Do you believe him? Or is this just another political promise?
You're now dealing with the difficulty of the propaganda in the face of enforcing
and I knew
illegal
that, Will.
immigration.
I mean, I
you
said
did know.
It's always tough.
Are you still
we
committed?
take out 25 murderers. We take out drug dealers. We take out a whole group of people by the thousands. And if we get one person a little bit wrong, headlines. But they don't talk about all the tremendous, the reason that we have Minnesota crime down. I talk about that because it's only down for one reason. We took out so many criminals. But other states are way down. So the report came out, though, think of it. In the history of this country, we have the lowest number of murders. We have the lowest crime, the best crime numbers. That's despite the fact that millions, I say 25 million people, millions of people were let in through the border by Biden. And many of those people were not people you want to have in the country.
So what's going to change? You put in Tom Homan. Have you spoken today to Tom Homan?
Well, yeah, I have. Tom is fantastic. Tom is a tough guy, but I've watched over the years, and he's gotten along with governors, and he gets along with mayors. Some people don't. Some people just want to do their job and leave me alone. And that's sort of okay, too. That's generally been okay. Most of them are happy. Memphis, Tennessee, very tough, very straightforward. We're taking the criminal out. We're getting them out, either putting them in jail, because some are so bad that you don't want to send them to where they came from because you're afraid they're going to come back. They're murderers. So some are very down and straight, and others, Tom, I've noticed, as tough as he is, he gets along very good with governors and mayors. Now, I spoke to the mayor and to the governor yesterday, and they want to see it cleared up.
I'm so fascinated by your conversation with Governor Tim Walz. This man has suggested that this is a modern-day Gettysburg. He has likened his situation to Anne Frank in the Holocaust. He has said that ICE is your Gestapo army. And then you guys speak on the phone. I'm fascinated by that conversation.
It couldn't have been a nicer conversation. And in fact, I said to my people, I said, it's hard to believe that's the same guy I watch on television, or I watch in a debate not doing so well, or because we had a very reasonable conversation, very good conversation.
Now, think about this for a second. Trump says crime didn't just drop a little, it dropped hard. Border security, law and order, that's what he campaigned on. And according to him, it worked. He claims that within just 3 months of taking office, the border was completely locked down. No chaos, no millions rushing in, nothing. He says before that, people were coming in by the millions. Now, he claims nobody even tries. But here's the part he says nobody wants to talk about. He says thousands of criminals are now being removed from the country, and he calls this the hardest problem to fix, not inflation, not prices, but removing dangerous people once they're already inside the system. Because once they're in, he says, the courts slow everything down, and law enforcement is sent after people who, in some cases, are violent criminals. He describes it as one of the toughest jobs there is. Then he shifts back to the border. He points to leaders like Kristi Noem and Tom Homan, saying they helped shut it down completely, and he calls it one of the most secure borders in the entire world. He says just a year and a half ago, America was being laughed at globally. Images of the border looked unreal, like a movie scene, hundreds of thousands of people pouring in. But now, he says, that image is gone. Trump reminds people this wasn't the first time. He says he won in 2016 on the border issue too, fixed it fast, and then came what he calls a strong first term, a booming economy, military rebuilt, massive regulation cuts. And now, he says, the second term is going even further. According to him, the only real issue left on the table is Minnesota, and he believes that can be solved easily. Then the focus turns to tariffs. Trump calls tariffs essential. He says they brought in hundreds of billions of dollars, money he claims was used to support farmers directly. He argues tariffs stopped foreign companies from exploiting cheap labor overseas, building products for pennies and then selling them at high prices in America. Now, he says, if companies want access to the U.S. market, they have to build their factories inside the United States. According to Trump, major companies from Germany, Mexico, and Canada are already moving in. Auto plants, AI factories, huge industrial projects. He claims more construction and business activity than ever before. But some farmers are worried. Trump responds by saying tariffs take time. He reminds them that the last time they stood with him and he paid them back, billions in support when China pushed back. And now again, he says, farmers are receiving $12 billion as a starting point. Then comes another explosive claim. Trump says Minnesota is just one example of something much bigger: fraud. He claims billions, possibly tens of billions, are being uncovered. Hundreds of accountants going through records, fraud on top of fraud. And if that's happening in Minnesota, he asks, what about California? He criticizes leadership there, calling projects wildly over budget and mismanaged. And when opponents claim Trump retreated in Minnesota, he flatly denies it. He says governors and mayors are calling him, asking for help. His bottom line? We want safe cities, we want a safe country. He even points to reports, including from Democrats, claiming crime is now at record lows. Finally, the tone shifts. Trump praises his Secretary of State, calling him tough and effective. He claims the U.S. has helped end multiple wars, saved millions of lives, and believes even major conflicts like Russia and Ukraine can be resolved. And just before taking the stage, the conversation ends on a lighter note: sports, football, and familiar faces. But the message he leaves behind is serious: strong borders, strong economy, safe cities. Now the real question is this reality, or is this the story he wants you to believe?